Hey guys, welcome to Mastering the Art of Groups. I am so lucky to have my guest today, who I like to call my good friend, and I like to bug my good friend in our direct message because she is so awesome. She knows her stuff. She pushes me. She's just amazing. So I would like to welcome Sharell Weeams to my podcast, to my audience, who many already know who Sharell is because they're either members of her group or are in other Facebook groups with her, other business groups with her. So how we met, I always like to share how we met, is actually obviously in a Facebook group, and it was in a fellow business group. And I remember when we initially connected in that group, and then I remember when you asked me to be a guest on your Facebook Live, and we talked about Facebook groups, and then you couldn't get rid of me. So I'm so blessed to have you on my podcast. Welcome, Sharell, to Mastering the Art of Groups.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to get to talk to you today on your podcast.
Yeah, we get to record our conversation now. This is exciting.
Right.
So, Sharell, would you share a little bit about your journey? I want everybody to hear, where you came from in your business and where you are today, because I know that it has been a journey, and I want everybody to hear, where we started to where we are today. So would you share with us your story, your journey?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, first of all, my name is Sharell Weeams, and I'm a business growth strategist. And I help service-based entrepreneurs, coaches, and consultants build a seven-figure business, 6 figures at a time, using organic marketing and social selling strategies. I am a career-long marketer, 15 plus years. Every time I say that, I feel really, really old, but time flies by really, really fast. I actually started in the space, like I have my MBA in marketing, even my bachelor's in marketing. Like that's literally all I've ever done is like marketing, sales, and business development. My first job out of college was working for an advertising firm, doing online marketing before it was actually called online marketing. Back then it was actually called search engine marketing. So we would use, it was like what people now call like Google ads, Google advertising. Back in the day when it first came out, MSN, I don't think many people even realize this, but like Yahoo, MSN, they actually used to do their own kind of ads as well. So I'm old school.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Yes, I used to manage ad campaigns for like on Google and Yahoo, and I'm just like, yeah, Yahoo's not even in the game anymore.
Yeah, wow.
So that was in 2006.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I like to call it you're a seasoned marketer, not an old.
Yes,
marketer.
There you go.
Sounds
seasoned.
So much better.
Yes, I like that word. But it's really funny because when I started, I again, because most people I would go and they'd be like, what do you do? And I'm like, yeah, I do search engine marketing. And everyone was just like, what? I started getting really concerned because I'm like, no one knows what I'm doing. This is so new. This is not going to be around for long. How funny does that sound now? But but I was afraid. So I ended up, kind of like transitioning into more kind of like broader professional services marketing. So I went on to work for engineering firms and, other firms, helping them with their marketing with the broader, spectrum from like, branding, copywriting, proposal writing, and the full spectrum, because it made me feel better that people actually knew what I was talking about. And then just kind of, I always like to say, I did a full 360. The very last job that I had was actually working for a social media marketing agency. I was like, oh, this is actually going to stick around, so let me go back and do that. I got a job at a social media marketing agency, and then about 4 months after I started working for them, I just kind of decided that I was ready to go out on my own. Got my first client, And at the time, what I was doing was I was working with kind of like small and mid-sized firms. They would outsource their entire like marketing function to me. So essentially what I was doing in my corporate background, they would hire me to do that for them, as a contractor for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for about the first 4 years of my business. And then after a total of, over 10 years in the industry, I was finally like, okay, I've been doing this for a while. As much as I love it, it's time for me to like not do the doing and teach other people actually how to do it for themselves. I was burnt out. I will not lie,
Yeah.
And then so that's when I kind of moved into the coaching and consulting in the online space, which was like, oh my gosh, mind blown. Like I thought I was doing online marketing before. Yeah. And that just took it to an entirely different level. So then for the next, 2.5 years, or ever since then, about 3 years ago, is where I've been focused on like the coaching and consulting aspect of it. And so that kind of brings me to where I am now.
Wow, I love that. I love to hear everyone's story. And a lot of the times we end up, on the corporate side, and then we go, wait a minute, I want to do this for myself. And then you see the potential. But if we didn't start in that corporate environment and see what we saw and did what we did, then we wouldn't end up where we are today. So
100%.
Thank you for sharing your story, your background. I love that. So now that you're, coaching, consulting, let's talk about the idea of building a community, right? So we're in this social media environment, and clearly we're talking about community here. How did you come up with the decision to say, I'm going to build a community and it's going to be in alignment with my business? Share a little bit about how you came to that decision on even deciding on building a community.
That's a great question. Well, I will tell you, like the very first program that I took online, part of their thing, it was part of their overall strategy was building a community online. And it was doing a webinar marketing strategy and building an online community. And so I tried it about 3 years ago, and I have to admit and say I did not. Well, I loved the thought of it, but I didn't really know how to manage it. So it was like I started a Facebook group. I just opened up a group, and I'm just like thinking that people are just gonna talk, and just randomly grow and start having conversations with themselves. And so, I didn't necessarily love it. And more than anything though, I think what happened was I didn't know what to do with it, and I just ended up it just kind of died off.
Disbanded,
and yeah. But I always loved the idea, like I said, of building this community of like-minded people, to have those conversations. I just didn't really know how to actually manage it. But I will say, and I know this is your podcast, and I know this is not promotional, but you are the Facebook group guru. You are. Ever since we met in the group that we met in, and I asked you to be a guest expert, I was just captivated by your videos, and I was like, Anna needs to come on my show and speak about, I could just tell how passionate you were about groups and communities. And through you, honestly, I know if you were not in my life, I don't know if I would have the Facebook group that I have now. Because, you really talked me through it a lot. I tried it once more, just again on my own. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's just too overwhelming. I let that one die. So y'all, for the record, yes, I have 2 failed communities. I'll admit it.
That's okay. First of all, I really do, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate you saying that. And yes, I am passionate. I am somewhat nerdy about it. I'm probably the only person on the planet that loves Facebook groups as much as I do. But I do appreciate you sharing that with me. That means a lot. And don't worry, I've had a lot more failed groups than you have. So I beat you on that one.
Okay.
2 is perfectly fine.
Okay, good. Well, I feel redemption now in the third. What do they say? 3 times the charm.
Yes, exactly.
And so, I started my latest Facebook group. Honestly, I just restarted it back up in February.
Mhm.
And I'm just going to tell y'all now, before I started this group, I was in Anna's DM. Like, we were talking
Mhm.
Facebook groups and strategy and conversations and community. Before I finally, like, even, before I released it. And, I almost had a freak out and didn't release it beforehand because I'm
Yeah.
like, can I really do it this
I
time? Can
remember
I
that.
manage it? Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
remember
messaged you
that.
like the day before. I was like, I need to do some mindset work. Like, if I just deleted it now, no one would know because I never opened it. Like, seriously,
I
it was that bad.
absolutely 100% remember that.
It's so funny. But I tell y'all, though, seriously, though, honestly, the strategies that Anna teaches, it has made this third time around, it's just like it's a completely different group. It's a completely different atmosphere. I absolutely love showing up in my community every single day. It doesn't feel like work. It feels like I'm like, honestly, what it kind of feels like, one is like I just have a group of friends that I can just talk to every day. But on the other side, it's almost like I have a lot of random thoughts, and Anna knows this. We talk a lot.
Yes.
But it's just like, oh, I have a group of people to share these random thoughts and these random questions with. So I just absolutely love it. This go
Isn't
around.
that crazy of what a totally different mindset it is when you experience your own group like that?
Yes.
For me, my mission in life is to have more people like you experience that. That's exactly what I've experienced for so many years. And I'm not going to lie, it's hard to teach that. But when you feel it and you're part of it and you've had failed groups and you don't know what that looks like until you're sitting in it, where you're sitting in it right now, you're like, oh my gosh, this is exactly it. I actually enjoy, and the fact that you say that you enjoy being in your group, just those words right now compared to the conversations that we had a year ago, completely different conversations. And it just makes me so happy. And so that when you show up like that and you just really enjoy being in there, your members are showing up the same exact way. So you've got these energetic, exciting members that you never knew you could have. And here you are sitting in there, right?
Yeah.
So,
So true.
I love that. It just makes me so happy. It really does, because it's a feeling. It's not necessarily a tangible thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to teach you how to make, that's your job. That's your specialty. I'm not going to teach you how to make 6-7 figures in your Facebook group, but I'm going to teach you how to build long-lasting relationships so that those sales become super easy and that you actually enjoy showing up in there. So you've put it into words, which makes it tangible. And I hope that the listeners listening to this now that are questioning whether or not, it's right, or whether or not they have the energy, the consistency on how to show up, it comes to you. I mean, wouldn't you say that you're more consistent with your Facebook group because you enjoy showing up for your group?
100%.
Right?
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's hard to be consistent when you don't enjoy showing up, right? It's not a matter of like, do I have the time to show up? It's like, I actually enjoy showing up, so I'm going to make it a point to create content for that group. So
yeah, I was telling my
we
clients,
have it a little backwards most of the time, right?
Yeah, I was literally telling my clients the other day about my Facebook group because I'm just like, everyone needs to build their communities now. But I was telling them that it's funny because when we were just kind of talking about content in general, and I was telling them my Facebook group, that's where I really pour all my content in those conversations into. But I know, it's like,
I'm loving every moment of this, by the way.
I know, it's so strange. It's so strange. But it's even strange for me too. But I was telling them that I remember when I was at that point too, where it was like, I don't know what I want to say, where, like you said, it felt like work. But now I get to the point to where, Anna, I have so much that I want to say now. I was telling them, like, I have to I'm like, Sharell, you've already posted 3 things today.
You have to hold
Schedule
back.
a post. Yes, I'm just like, just schedule a post for tomorrow. So yeah,
Exactly.
it's a totally different energy. And I wanted to tell you, because you said that it was hard. It's hard to teach it. You have somehow figured out how to teach it, because here's the truth. And I call you the Facebook fairy, by the way. Now that's your new nickname. You
Yeah,
are the
I need a
Facebook
little.
fairy. Sprinkle
I
some
love it,
dust.
little pixie
Yeah,
dust.
yeah. But I think what makes it so hard, and what you teach differently than what everyone else teaches, which is why it's probably been so different for me this time, is that a lot of people want to teach Facebook groups in a very formulaic way. What you have mastered doing is teaching something, like you said, it can't be super formulaic, but somehow you have still managed to be able to teach it, for everyone to take ownership in their own group. And there is an art to that, because those formulas, I've tried them and they don't work.
Right. Yeah. I love that you say there is an art to that, because that's exactly when I was trying to come up with even a name for my course, but it really is not, it's not black or white. It's just, it's this ever moving, breathing thing that is like an art form. And that's hard to teach when you're not like, maybe you're naturally a formula follower, right? You're very organized. You're very spreadsheet. Like, I have one of my best friends we call, like, her nickname is the spreadsheet, right? She follows the formulas, and that's easy to do. But we're dealing with human beings. We're dealing with relationships. We're dealing with conversation. I mean, clearly in the last week and a half, conversations and relationships are key to Facebook groups. It is not a formula. It is not show up and do your business. We are human beings, and we need to relate to each other as human beings and really understand each other. And we may not be experts. I've never said that. I never claim that I'm an expert. I'm a strategist. I'm a fairy now. But I'm a Facebook group nerd, because I study it every single day, and I watch, and I see how people react and respond and how they show up. And so I love the fact that you said that it is an art form, but it's an art form that people can learn.
Yes.
Like, I can't paint for the life of me, but I can manage online relationships, right? And it's something, there are things out there that we need to pay attention to that nobody's ever taught. And so I'm just, I feel lucky that I've been able to get a whole grasp that a little bit. I mean, I'm still learning, and the platform itself is always moving. So, which I love, because it keeps me on my toes, and I will never be settled. So can you share a couple best practices that you've put into place with this new group? You made this decision. You're gonna go into this group with the intention and a plan. That was number one. I know that, because you started there. And then you kind of closed your eyes and hit the button and said, okay, I'm doing this. Now, moving forward, what are a couple things that you did that you maybe didn't do in the past, or that you found that are like, oh yes, this is really making a difference?
That's a great question. I would say the first thing is that I think the times that I tried before, it was almost like I expected, okay, I'm the expert and I'm creating this group for these people. And I hate to say this, because it wasn't intentional, and I don't think I believed it, but I feel like the way it came off was like I'm here and you're here kind of thing. Like, I'm giving you, I'm sharing, I'm throwing information at you, I'm posting stuff and expecting you to respond, as opposed to actually really building a relationship with people. So this time I really went in from a standpoint of, I mean, honestly, how I am in real life and when I connect with other people, it's just like, let me treat people the way that I want to be treated. Let me, when people join my group, I'll send them a welcome message like, hey, like I would if someone was coming into my home, like welcome into my home,
Yeah.
And really just try to establish that connection with them and that relationship with them. Another thing I did to kind of keep it from feeling just kind of like, that kind of like hierarchical type thing was, I mean, don't get me wrong, because of course, I'm a business owner and I'm establishing my credibility in the group, but it is also about like, I truly believe in reciprocity. And again, these were things that I didn't do before. Again, yeah, people, they're showing up, they've joined my group and they want to hear what I say. But guess what? Can I show some interest in, what they have going on in their businesses, every once in a while going and taking a look at their, their business page or their, their posts on Facebook and engaging with their content too. It's just, it's just truly building a relationship and then like showing that reciprocity, like you're giving your energy and showing up for me every day. Like, let me give my energy and show up for you too,
Yeah, I absolutely love that you share that, because how many times are we in groups and we could use the excuse that, oh, the group's thousands of members, etc. But how many times are we as consumers in groups so far away from that leader and so high, they're so high touch. There's no way that they're going to pay attention to what I have going on in my life. Yeah. But if they did, and they spent 30 seconds looking at my post or my page or even my banner, we don't need to be friends, and making a comment or paying attention to that, like, how would that make you feel as a consumer, right? You would be all over that group. You would spend all of your time in that group for 30 seconds of their time. So the fact that you shared that is huge, because I'm a huge fan of that. Sometimes, I will be honest, I felt like whenever I did that, I mean, I've done that for 10 years, was pay attention to people outside of the group. Sometimes it comes across as I've got nothing better to do than to look at other people's stuff, right? She's got nothing better to do than to look at everybody's stuff. When in actuality, how much time are we spending on social media? If you spent half the time looking at other people's stuff, then scrolling your news feed, the amount of impact that you can make is so exponential. And I know that there's some people that don't necessarily agree with, messages in inboxes, but you're connecting to humans. And I don't know about you, but 99.9% of the groups that I join, there is either a generic message in my inbox, or there's no message and no connection, and it's just a simple tag. So I know you and I have had conversations about that in the past. It's just, this is not a simple tag. This is like, I'm paying attention to you, and you just spend that half a second, and they are your biggest fans. That's for a reason. And then, you know what, truthfully, it goes both ways. We're their biggest fans. I'm your biggest fan because I've spent the time connecting with you, or that I could have spent the time scrolling my news feed or not scrolling my news feed, but instead I use the time to reach out as best I can, or even just pay attention, so that in the group, I know what's going on with people just a tiny bit more than another leader, so that my group is the one that stands out. And that's exactly what you're doing. Your group stands out, and you just started. It wasn't even that you like ran a challenge and everything was exciting, and then the challenge is over and everybody disappears. You are consistently creating this environment where people show up daily and want to show up because you show up for them. It's amazing. It's awesome. You're the exception to the rule, right? That's the goal here. That's the goal. My goal is to create, or to help people create and be the exception to the rule. Like, you can message people. You can send them messages. In fact, you'll stand out if you actually send a genuine message to someone versus 100%. A generic message, or ignore them, right?
Yeah,
like
100%.
And how much effort does that take? It doesn't really take much.
Seriously, just set aside a little bit of time. I mean, I just added, I don't know, like 150 people or something to my group. But literally, first thing I did this morning, sent out 25 messages. Guess what I'm going to do again when we get off? send out 25, and it literally to send out 25 messages takes
Right.
less than 5 minutes.
Right.
Just to say like, welcome,
Right.
welcome,
And
thank you for joining the group,
there's an argument too, and this is not necessarily an argument in my book, but I hear this objection.
Yeah.
And I just had this conversation in another podcast interview, but the objection is, what if they, I send off these messages and nobody ever pays attention to them. They never get opened. What's your thought on that?
Well, my thought on that is, what about the ones that do get open? What about the ones that do get, worry about the ones that do get open and worry about the ones that do respond. And trust me, even those who open and don't respond, they're paying attention.
Bingo.
They're paying attention.
Bingo. Exactly. Okay. Do you have any other, quick tip that, off the top of your head, or like, oh yes, this is one more thing that's absolutely changed the way I do things in this group. And by the way, congratulations on, adding 150 new people to your group. That is fantastic. And remember, people, she said she opened this group in February and we are in the beginning of June. So, those are good numbers.
Thank you. Let's see. I think the only last tip I would give, and I was actually kind of talking to my group members, or some of my clients about this the other day, just content in general. I think a lot of people stress out too much about content too. It doesn't always have to be earth-shattering, groundbreaking, post or information that you're sharing in your group. Simple things just to get people talking, giving them a reason to connect. Like I take simple stuff. Like I posted recently this week, what is your love language and how does it tie in, or, how does it tie into your business or something, right? So you can literally take almost any just random general thing and tie it to your subject matter. And there you go. So I just say, give people opportunities. Anna talks a lot about the fact that people aren't always, like for me, obviously I'm in the business space, people aren't always thinking or wanting to really think or talk about their business every single day. So one of the jewels that I learned from you, Anna, is just really understanding that, because again, that was one thing I did not do.
Right.
Like understanding that I need to make the conversation not always directly about what I do, but I can still kind of tie it in lightly, right?
Yeah, very easy to. It's very true, very easy to. And that was I love that post. In fact, I was like, gosh, that's such a good post. I need to use that one.
You can buy it too.
It was a simple question and you wrapped it into a business question, but it got so much engagement. I mean, I got sucked in, and I was like, this is so good. Yes, I got sucked in. It's a very easy question to answer, which makes, you got to make it easy for people.
Yeah.
And you were able to tie it into your business, and you were able to understand. The best part about that is how strategic that question was you now understand your members even better, because now you know their love language. I mean, it was like one of the best posts I've seen in a Facebook group, because I know every little aspect of it was genius. So, and it was, people just see it, they're like, oh, that's a good question. Hey, but I go, oh yeah, no. There's like multiple layers to that. And you know it as well.
Yeah.
You would not have posted that if you didn't have those multiple layers. You're super smart. So it was brilliant. And it was simple. Like you said, it doesn't have to be this groundbreaking thing like I have started to do every month.
Those don't do as well for me. I'm just saying, No,
it doesn't. And for me, it's just kind of cathartic to get it out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if people read it, great. If not, at least I have gotten my message across.
Yeah.
But I also need to continue to build those small, create those small engaging posts that I get to know. Like for me, that cathartic post is just kind of me getting everything out. But my group will not be successful if it's just that.
Yeah.
It absolutely 100% needs to be about your members and really getting to know them. And this podcast interview is really about getting to know your members and really creating that community that you enjoy being a part of, because you enjoy your members being a part of it and they enjoy it. So I appreciate you sharing your best practices, your journey, just the mindset shift. That's a really bad combination of words. Mindset shift on, building a community in your business. So thank you for sharing that. Now, can you share where our listeners can find you and your community and your coaching and consulting?
Sure, absolutely. So, my Facebook group is actually called the Confident Closers Collective. So, if you are interested in talking about how to simplify your marketing, connect with your prospects, and close more sales, then join us over there in the group. Again, it's called the Confident Closers Collective.
And I will have the link to that group in the show notes, so we'll be able to grab it quickly. So thank you, Sharell, for being on my podcast. Thank you for being a part of my journey. And you've made my journey in business so much more enjoyable just because, you're one of my dear friends. And I appreciate you showing up for me, and I will always show up for you. So thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thank you for having me. This has been a lot of fun.